Towards the end of last week, Jimmy Kimmel lost his talk show, or rather, it's gone on indefinite hiatus. This occurred right after Brendan Carr, the current FCC chair, went on a podcast hosted by a right-wing influencer named Benny Johnson, which, by the way, I love that now in this day and age, major news cycles can originate from these stupid, sycophantic podcasts that many people within this current administration go on. Very normal country. Anyway, Brendan Carr went on a rant against Jimmy Kimmel because during one of his shows last week, Jimmy Kimmel had a monologue about Charlie Kirk's death, and yes, I'm about as fucking sick of hearing about Charlie Kirk as you probably are, and I swear after this, unless some major development occurs surrounding that I am interested in talking about in video form, I am done talking about Charlie Kirk on this channel. Anyway, what exactly did Jimmy Kimmel say that was the source of ire? This. We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. Now, from what I have seen, the political affiliation of Charlie Kirk's murderer is still incredibly muddy. I have seen everything ranging from he's a groiper, he's a leftist, he's trans, he's gay. Obviously, those last two things aren't political affiliations, but they may as well fucking be to a lot of MAGA. But Jimmy Kimmel supposedly jumped the gun by conclusively labeling this shooter as MAGA. Perhaps that wasn't the most responsible thing to do on a late-night talk show, but immediately after Charlie Kirk got shot, you had so many people on the right calling for leftist blood. Jesse Waters on Fox News, immediately after Charlie Kirk got shot, went on a monologue about how we need to clamp down on quote-unquote left-wing extremism. Where was the backlash to that? Where was Brendan Carr calling that irresponsible and threatening to remove affiliate licenses? And this was before the shooter was even fucking caught on top of that. And this plays into what I've been so annoyed at this past week and a half. The right gets to say whatever the fuck they want and make as many baseless accusations as they please with almost no pushback. But the moment the left, or in Jimmy Kimmel's case, I guess he's a moderate Dem, I don't know what the fuck his political leanings are personally, but anyone even slightly to the left of MAGA, I'll say, says something even slightly uncouth in reference to Charlie Kirk's death, or anything in general that MAGA doesn't like, you run the risk of getting doxxed, or losing your job, or if you're a late-night talk show host, losing your show. And in Jimmy Kimmel's case, he didn't even say anything that fucking bad. It's not like he was on the fucking stage dancing and saying "Rip Bozo." Though if he did do that, that would probably be the only time his show would have been even remotely interesting. That was too uncouth of me to say, sorry. But it's so fucking annoying seeing the right speak in absolutes surrounding the killer's potential political leanings, and peddle bullshit like we found references to transgender ideology engraved into the bullet casings. The letters TRN were engraved. Ooh, what else could that possibly mean? And then it ended up having fucking nothing to do with trans people. That garbage was signal boosted by the media at first, and no accountability there, because trans people are unfortunately a vulnerable group that a lot of people feel comfortable throwing under the bus, because they're likely to not face any real repercussions. But don't you dare say anything that MAGA doesn't like. Now look, I'm not gonna mourn the loss of Jimmy Kimmel's show if it does indeed stay off the air permanently. I never watched his show, never had an inkling of interest in his show, and quite frankly, I don't give a shit about any of these late-night talk shows. Well, with the exception of John Oliver, but even then, I only watch him when a segment of his interests me. But even still, I don't like the precedent of a TV show getting yanked off air just because the current presidential administration doesn't like what the host has to say. And make no mistake, that's what this boils down to. This isn't about ethical reporting or punishing the spread of misinformation or anything like that. Otherwise, whew, he could go after a litany of right-wing outlets for what they've been reporting on during this Charlie Kirk news cycle alone. Look at what happened to Colbert's show, conveniently right after the Trump administration approved a merger that Viacom, that owned Colbert's show, underwent. His show got axed, and all of these media conglomerates are folding like a fucking lawn chair for this administration. Because at the end of the day, these media companies are controlled by wealthy executives who benefit from this administration. They got their tax cuts enshrined into law. This administration has also made an effort to weaken labor power in this country, with things like Trump's NLRB appointees siding with the super wealthy and making unionizing more difficult. So those who head these media companies see far more of an incentive to roll over for this administration so they could have more perks thrown their way. And that's why I find it hilarious that for years, so many fucking idiots outlets have complained about all of these media companies supposedly being super woke because they don't have any real fucking principles. They just follow whatever they feel is the most lucrative. And right now, what's most lucrative is capitulating to fascism, and boy did they fucking capitulate. All Brendan Carr did was tout a threat on a stupid fucking podcast, and that was enough to get Kimmel's show pulled off the air. The Trump administration could do so much as give a dirty look in the direction of any of these media companies, and they fold immediately. Right now, they're going after network television, but how much longer will it be before they begin to go after independent content creators who aren't just simply nodding and agreeing with everything this administration has been doing? Like Jimmy Kimmel's show or not, which again, I didn't, this administration getting shows canned just because they didn't like what was said on these shows is a blatant attack on free speech and will likely not stop at just Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert's shows getting cancelled, and will also likely not stop at just network television. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Bye-bye.